Check it out. Oh, I didn't see my tool sitting there.
I'm Walter Day, the father of esports, and you're watching Matty Mo's Arcade.
And you know, it's that quick whack-a-mole.
I'm getting ready to attack. Fanny pack attached. Tokens are all stacked. Got the mallet in my grasp. Waiting for the moles, hiding in their holes. Scoreboard keeping tally. I'll be playing till they close now. Can't nobody beat my high score. You can't beat my high score. Can't nobody beat my high score. You can't beat my high score. I'm a mallet master, a single-fisted blaster. You can ask my baby, it starts slow then gets faster. I'm a record setter.
What's up, gang? Back at touchdown one more time before we go back to the kangaroo. I think just one more time. Of course, I have the rubbers and stuff here. I got the new coil in the mail and the diodes. This is the most important part. The other stuff I had backups of, but I did not have a diode. And that's going to be for the power board, which is right up here, up top. And you can see that black spot right there, and that's where that diode goes. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this, rebuild this, and then we'll take care of the flipper in the bottom of this coil and redo that wiring. And hopefully I have the fuses that go back here and transformer. And then we'll be able to at least try to power it on, see if it boots. I want to see if it boots, and after that we'll have to put the rubbers on before we can play it. But I think we'll at least get to power it on and see if it works. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Here's our flipper mech, and that has the wrong coil on it. So we're going to take this one off. Basically, it's just these two screws that are here next to it, and then this is the coil stop. And we'll take that off, and then this will just slide out. And we're going to have to redo this wiring, but it's fine because we'll just mimic this other side. We have one that's right over there. And from looking at that, we know that they put this one in backwards. These lugs should be here on the outside of the table rather than on the inside. So that's not going to be a big deal. And here's our coil. So it wasn't too much smaller or too off size from that one as far as the size goes, but the actual gauge and winding of the wire on the inside of the coil was different, so that would affect it for sure. But like I said, I'm going to take these two screws off, and then well, first I'm going to desolder all this crap, and then I'm going to take these two screws off. I'm going to pop this off, and then when I get ready to put the new one on, we will pop back in real fast. And like I said, if you have a problem and even if you don't have the schematics like I do, like I have two forms of reference right now, you just come around to the other side over here, and you have the same mech here. And so you just look at what's on your coil here, and you just know that it's going to flip over here, so you can see which wires are going to go to which lugs, and you should be fine by mimicking that. I haven't had any problems doing that even before I really knew what I was doing. So in worst case scenario, you can go right off of there. And the way it looks like our top one here has ground, and then both of these go to the switch here, which is the end of stroke switch, and then the outside one here also has the power. So we'll just do the same thing on the other side. It shouldn't be a problem. This is the power supply and the schematics here. This is the first thing I worked on. And the parts that went bad are, well, CR7 is the culprit. It's right here. That's where the brown spot is on the board. So what you need to do if your board looks like this and this hasn't been done yet, you need at the very least to change out CR7 and R10. And they're right here in the schematics. This is the CR7 right here. It's a 1N3445. Basically, you need to know that it's an 8.2 volt Zener diode, and you can replace this one with a beefier one. Let's see what I have it written down right here. It is 1N4738A. So that one's a little beefier, still 8.2. And then this is R10 here, and it was a 30 ohm 2-watt resistor, which I have here. And it's a big guy. It's a 2-watter. And so basically this has not very much resistance. So let's say this is like a Walmart greeter right here on Black Friday, and he basically sits at this line and he bounces this voltage this way, because a diode lets voltage go one way but not the other, and our anode line or whatever it is on this side. You can see it points that way, so it'll flow this way but not this way. So our door greeter is just booting them around like this. Well, this big 2-watt resistor is like a giant hallway full of football players running at our door greeter. So what we need to do is make this a smaller resistor and make this a bigger security guard. So what we switched them to was this diode here, and then we're going to switch this resistor to a 680 ohm half-watt resistor, which unfortunately I didn't have any half-watt, so I had to use quarter watts. So what you do is you split it in half. So instead of 680, I would need 340. I had 330s. So I have two 330s at a quarter watt, which makes one 660 half watt. That's how that works. I'll show you that in just a second. But that's how it is in the schematics. You're going to want to change at least those two parts, and you're going to want to check everything else at least in this area. This guy too, probably, just in case. This side up here is the other line of voltage. So if you had a problem here, you may not have a problem here. They're separate on this one. Okay, so let's move this over to the back box. I'll show you what I had to do there. Before I zoom in on the power board, which is this top board here, I want to go over what I had to do with the rest of the back box. Whenever I moved it, we had to move it in the car. We didn't have a truck at the time, and it was either get it then or I didn't know when I was going to be able to get it. So I needed to take off the whole back box, and this doesn't have a disconnect right here. Usually there's one just underneath this level of the play field, and you can disconnect and either fold down or remove the back box completely. So what I had to do was take off all of these connectors and pull it off, and some of them were soldered to the board, like over here on this reset board was soldered in, and there were some over here that were soldered in, but it does have a disconnect right there for those that were soldered in. I just didn't see it until I was hooking it back up. So I got all the wiring put back in the way it's supposed to be done. I don't have any of the ground mods done yet, or anything that wasn't done. It's exactly as how I found it, minus the power board's been redone. I did, check continuity and stuff just to make sure the power would get there. So I think that's good. We have a lot of issues with this era of Gottlieb. This one's Gottlieb System 80A with number one, the ground mods. Like I said, it needs to be grounded all over the place. And second, the header pins and these connectors, the pins inside the connectors and the header pins aren't a good combination. The pins are round, and the pins in the connectors are square, so they barely make contact, first of all, and they're prone to oxidize. So that'll be the next step that we'll have to do after we get it up and running. But I want to at least see if we can get it to boot first, and then we can move that far. But here is the power board here. I did have some extra problems aside from normal. You can see the jumper wire there in the middle, right there. So that's one of the legs of this transistor that's there, and I had to just run it to two other spots that are the next spots on the path for each way on that trace. And what happened was pushing this back in whenever I was reassembling it. I guess I didn't get it hot enough, or I didn't use enough flux, and it poked out a little Well, it's like it's a through hole solder point, so the trace is actually on the other side, even though we're tracing on this side, or even though we're soldering on this side. So you're soldering to something that actually goes through the board and then makes contact on the other side. Well, it broke in the inside of there. So I just ran jumper wires from now. It's going to be the easiest that way. And if it's a problem, then I'll deal with it later. But the two parts that I changed are, you can see here I did my resistor mess. And then where the brown spot is where the diode is. And it does show you which way to put the black line. It has an arrow that points to it. Those are the two parts that you have to do. There's no doubt about it. Otherwise, it's just going to keep popping that one, just like this thing did there. And when I pulled it off, there was literally no diode left. So I think we have that all back together right. It was a little bit of a pain putting that bottle cap transistor back in. When the board here still has the battery on it. That's this orange thing here, and I will pull that off ASAP. Just leaving it on now because I don't want to pull that board off of there yet. I did pull it off whenever we first got it to the house though and checked it. There is no damage. From what I've read, those batteries seem to have held up a lot better than any other ones that are on these System 80 boards. But that's it for the back box for now. Like I said, we might have to get back in here and test some stuff if the game doesn't boot and we don't go right. Oh, you know what? That's what I was going to say. After we do the flipper and we get our fuses and stuff in, we're going to come back to this power board and just have power to coming to it, but not releasing any power from this board to anything else. Then we can test our voltages to make sure we have the proper volts going out, because we don't want to fry anything. And we don't want to wonder why something doesn't come on if it's not even getting voltage. So we'll know right away, know if we have to keep going with rebuilding that. So that's where we stand right now. And just going to take a break for just a second, and then we're going to go and change this flipper coil. Be right back. I started on these fuses by accident. Well, not by accident. I did it on purpose. But I don't think I have the right fuses to get her to boot. The slow blows that I have are 7 amp, and they just don't really look that beefy, so I'm not 100% sure that they're slow blows, but they were marked slow blows. But I put them in and we'll try. I do have some that are supposed to show up today in the mail, but they are not slow blows. It's a quick blow kit. But anyway, that sidetracked me, but I did finish up the flipper here. It was so easy, it wasn't even worth filming. It took literally less than a minute. Those two little screws that are here that I showed you just a second ago, that's all you have to do. Just take those two screws out, that that coil stop pops off of there, and then you could just slide the solenoid right off of the shaft there, desolder it, throw the new one in, which the old one wasn't even soldered in. They didn't know how to solder, so they just had wires wrapped around it. So that was easy. Popped it off, popped this back on. So where we are now makes me nervous because of these fuses. With those not being 100%, I'm probably just going to blow fuses whenever I power the game on. But let's go ahead and try and see if we can just boot it without the game, just the power supply, and see if we can get correct voltages out of the power supply board. That would be a huge step, because on several other pinballs I've worked on lately, that was a bear to get this power supply working. This one doesn't look as bad. So give me just a second. We'll get this board back up in there, or the board's back up in there. We'll just, all we have to do is unhook some connectors and flip a switch. Hopefully we get it. Okay, so I have it fired up without the rest of the game plugged in, just the game board. And the LEDs are showing that we have 5 and 12 volts. So the power supply seems to be good. Of course, I'm going to test the output voltages, and then I'm going to test these test points before I plug the board in and stuff. But we do have a little bit of GI. So that's something going on. Usually you just turn these guys. Or pop them out. It's kind of hard to do one-handed. There we go. Cracking an egg. Hey, look at that. Usually those do come on. That's why I was trying it. Come here, sucker. What is going on? Let's check this one. It does look burnt. Oh, that one's crispy. It still could be good, though. Need more light to see. It's a little dark. But that's pretty cool. So that's the next step. So now I'm gonna hook this board back up and smoke a cigarette and get nervous. And we'll see if she boots. That's the only thing left. We'll see. Stick around. Okay, I'm nervous. This is a moment of truth. So the power board works. I think we got that far. We're pretty lucky. I think they're probably going to blow when the solenoids fire up, or they won't fire up, but they initialize, right? So if it doesn't, I have some quarters sitting here. So if it boots, if it boots and it comes all the way up, I still need to put the rubbers on before we can play it. But I guess let's go ahead and find out if it's good news or bad news. Bad news might be the end of the video. I don't know if I feel like going on anymore. Fingers crossed. Fire in a hole. That. Well, look at that. That kind of looks like a track mode. Let me kill some of this light. I didn't hear any sound. There we go. Let's try some quarters. This is promising. Okay, I see our credits registered there. I have a brand new ball to set in here, as we have not had any solenoids initialize yet. They could have just blown that fuse too, and the game's still working, which is a possibility. But this is a really, really good sign, obviously. It seems like we do have a game. So I'm gonna drop the new ball in and we'll see if we can start it up, and if she kicks a ball over. If she kicks a ball over, it's gonna be exciting time. We're gonna get some rubbers on here real fast. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Whoa, it kicked a ball over. Woo! All right, give me a second here. I'm gonna throw some rubbers on real fast. All right, so I'm kind of working on these rubbers still, watching TV as I'm going. It's very tedious trying to get this crap off of here. Took a bunch of the paint off up here. It was just had the paint soft underneath it. There wasn't much I could do. Once you start getting the stuff up, it just comes right off with it. I did notice that up here that I just been kind of brushing it off and not trying to clean it off, and it seems like it's just gonna, you know, chip away a little bit better. So I'm gonna try to do it that way. Maybe just get this bulk of it off with the brush maybe, and then just play pinball around it until it just kind of brittles off of there. I'm gonna try that a couple games anyway and see if it gets any better, because I don't want to do that anymore. But there wasn't anything you could do. I mean, it was just gone underneath there, unfortunately. I have some Novus I'm gonna run over these, but the rubbers look pretty good. And aside from that, which I'm gonna hit that with some touch-up paint, and it should be okay. You can see starting to get this is like the 5th pile I got over here. I need to touch up paint those spots anyway. That's from where this pops out. And yeah, so we have these up here. Marco sells posts just like this. I have 3 or 4, I think, but I was gonna put those up here. But we can hide the best ones out of the crappy ones in the back there. But yeah, it's slow going. I got about halfway through it, and then I started hitting all this crap, so slowed it down a little bit. Just give me a few, and I'll finish this up, and then we'll check out the game and play it a little bit. And I know the switches up here weren't registering. We can go through that and check the lights and all that, and then we can kind of form a plan. I want to move this out into the living room if it plays well enough, and get it out of the way for the kangaroo, and then yeah, we can start doing like the ground mods and all that stuff, and then I want to go through all these switches and then all the connectors and header pins in the back. Camera shut off. Anyway, let me get this wrapped up, and then we will get some gameplay going, and then we'll take a look at what switches we can fix maybe. I mean, this might be, I don't think it's that long. I haven't really filmed that much. Done a ton more work than I have filmed, so maybe we're still under half an hour right now, I think. But we'll be right back, and hopefully this is done. I haven't cleaned it and waxed it yet, but hopefully it's at least done with the rubbers. This is a lot more time consuming than I thought it was going to be, but that melted rubber was kind of rough. So you can see my touch-up paint here doesn't match as well as I was hoping. It probably matched what it looked like when it was brand new, but I think without all the spotlights on it and us staring right at it, it'll probably look a lot better. The glass on it and all that. So I've done the whole machine. It's our trash pile there. Done the whole machine up to here, and I started and I've done over here, and I did finally come up with a solution on how to get the dried stuff off of the playfield without wrecking it. Let's see if I can zoom in and get a better look. See, it looks much better, but I have done the touch-up paint there. Okay, good. You can see the touch-up paint in the light. The spots that were missing, you can see the ring in the center is good. Then there's this really black spot there. That's touch-up paint. And then there's another one over here. And then some little bitty splooges you can kind of see that look a little too high. Those actually came off with the post and the plastic piece, so there wasn't much I could do about that. But the pile that was laying all around it, what I did with that, let me back it up so I'm not talking to a zoomed in camera. I took a cotton ball and some of this Goo Gone. Now I tried this first underneath one of the plastics, just kind of wiped it on, let it sit for a while and wiped it off, and then see if it faded the color or ate the paint away or anything. It didn't do anything to it. So, and I figure it's better than plastic on the playfield. So I just kind of wiped it all over the rubber that was on there real good. And then I let it sit for not even 5 minutes or so, maybe about 5 minutes. And then I came back with my nut driver. I was saying how the ball bouncing off of it seemed to get more of the rubber off than anything that I had done over here where I was trying to scrape it off. But I took the nut driver and then just kind of laid it on the playfield, and with no force down, just slid it across the playfield at the white melted plastic, and it busted off like that. And there was still, the top would bust off, still another layer. So a couple times I had to do, 2 or 3 layers of this before it all came off. But it didn't take the paint off of the playfield underneath it. So I'm going to continue to do that on this side. But what that does mean is that this video is going to take a lot longer if I have to wait to do all this stuff. So I am going to stop it right here. And I don't want to play any test games right now, because as you can see, I got that white crap is everywhere, and I'm not sure if the ball rolling over it will do damage or if it'll just bust it up. But might as well just get all this crap out of here before we screw any more spots up. I don't want to do any more touch-up paint, and I don't want to have to risk my paints not matching. I really thought that matched it. That one little piece matched so much better than it did when it was totally painted in. But I guess that's the way touch-up paint is, though. But I'm satisfied with this. This is that's doable. That's under a plastic. It's in the back. We're not going to really see that anyway. And the black does match a lot better. So luckily, almost all of this up here, as you can see, all that rubber is on the black. So that is a bonus. I also got these 2 lights working, so all 4 of these are going. Actually, on the play field, same as the rubbers, everything down here above the play field has a new bulb or replace the ones that were burnt out, and then up to here. So up here, if there's any bulbs, I know there's some back behind these 2 plastics up here, and I think these are all lit up here, but I'll check all those, and we'll do that in the next video. And then we'll also go through, I know these switches aren't working. We'll at least see what the problem is. If it's all the way back up to the switch matrix, probably won't be in the next video, but we're gonna make sure, or at least make an attempt to try to get all the switches going and all the playfield lights, and we'll get what we can up, and then we'll play some for a while, and that's what we'll do in the next video. I don't want to go through everything on this right now. I want to get back to the Kangaroo and make it presentable. It's not too far away, so we'll get this all nice and looking good, and get it out into the living room and out of our way, and get back to Kangaroo. But we'll end this one here. Appreciate you guys watching. I think we're only like 30 minutes, so I don't think it's too bad. And we'll get one more video on touchdown, and then we'll get to the Kangaroo. All right, thanks, guys. So these 2 right here are going to be ground and 5 volt. So what do we get here? Did I not turn the game on? I didn't turn the game on. I guess that would help. Hang on.
Here it is. A nice little trade. The person I traded got what they wanted. I got what I wanted. And a pretty good deal on it too.
Super hang on. Get what I want.
That comes later.
Yeah.
Okay. It's on fire.
What happened? Whoa.
Lots of smoke.
Well, that's bad.
Yeah, well, thanks for watching.
When you take care of people, people take care of you in this community.
That's the truth.
So everyone, please remember that. Even if we're competitors, we're not enemies.